are back with the next Understanding the Officer video in the Understanding the Officer video series. And the officer in today's video that we are going to focus on is going to be Bloody Mary, another Generation 1 officer. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Welcome back. I hope life is going well for each and every one of you. The focus of today's video is going to be Bloody Mary, but before we jump in and start talking about her skills, her pros, her cons, and everything involving Bloody Mary, if you enjoy these Understanding the Officer videos, if they are helping, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are not already so you don't miss any future uploads. Let's try to get this video to at least 100 likes. Now let's go ahead and jump in and start talking about Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary, to start, is another Generation 1 officer. Like you guys have heard me say before, we are working our way through all of the Generation 1 officers, and then we will go to Generation 2, 3, and then at some point 4. And if we have a Generation 5 or beyond at that point, then we will of course cover them as well. Now, Bloody Mary is actually she's a decent Generation 1 officer. She is tagged as a versatile officer, but she is mainly geared towards tanks primarily. Now, Bloody Mary's first skill isn't anything that is going to blow your mind in terms of damage coefficient. She does a baseline damage coefficient of 1,050, so not very high even for Generation 1 officers. That is definitely at the bottom end of damage coefficients. Now, one thing she does bring that is somewhat valuable, at least in the early game. I mean, it's valuable across the board, but it is her tactical skill, so you can't use it via the skill training system, so it goes obsolete pretty quick. But it is the fact that she is increasing the prep time of the enemy officer skills by 1 second, which means that that's 1 second longer it takes for their tactical skill to actually fire off, which means that you can get more shots off, do more damage, and kill more units on the enemy unit before they're able to retaliate with their tactical skill. Her second skill, which is a passive skill, increases damage intensity by 15% regardless of unit type. This is going to be her most valuable skill simply because this is going to be one of the skills that you can use via the officer skill training system, and damage intensity is a big win across the board. Now, her third skill, which is a special skill, is actually a little bit unique, and it's the fact that she increases the speed of her troop by 10%. Now, with that being said, obviously that's only going to be relevant for like specific unit types. Like, you're not really ever going to worry about speed on an artillery unit, for example. You're not really ever going to worry about speed on a super heavy unit. But maybe a light tank that you're using to hunt reserves with would be a unit that you might potentially want to have that extra little bit of speed for. So it's obviously a skill that is very niche, but if that's something that appeals to you, maybe you can consider looking at that for the officer skill training system. And then her fourth skill is just the fact that she recovers 1% of HP in the field while deployed and not in combat. Very common skill. Multiple officers have this skill and offer this skill via the officer skill training system, so nothing extraordinary there. Now let's talk about Bloody Mary in terms of big picture. Is she relevant past the very beginning, early stages of the game? And the answer is no. She is easy enough to get because you can get her statues through completing just daily officer missions, so you will passively gather her statues, so there's really not a need or a point to invest universal officer statues into her. You will eventually awaken her passively, so you're going to get her regardless, but she is definitely not an officer that is going to survive the test of time. Again, her second skill, which is going to increase the damage intensity of your unit, you will definitely want to use that skill for the officer skill training system at some point. Other than that, she really holds no value unless, again, of course, you're just like a super niche role player with maybe something like a light tank and you want that little bit of extra speed from her special skill, then you can use that, but that's more of a personal preference thing. But the only kind of widely useful skill that she's going to offer is that damage intensity buff skill. So that's really the priority skill that you need to focus on leveling up as you continue to build up her statues. So with that being said, that's going to wrap us up for the video. Not a very long video at all, but wanted to make sure I covered all of the basic points in regard to Bloody Mary. In conclusion, level her up with her officer-specific statues that you were able to obtain through the daily officer missions. Other than that, don't worry about her. Don't invest in her. But as you do passively build up her specific statues, make sure you invest in that second skill, the damage intensity skill. First, get that to level 5 so you can use it for the skill training system. And then obviously the other skills you can just kind of level up as you gather enough statues in whatever order you please, because she is not really going to be an officer you're probably going to use for very long. If you have stuck around and made it this far into the video, if you've got access to Discord but are not already in our community Discord server, the link to that is going to be in the description of the video below. Click on that link, it'll take you right into our community server. Whether you are a new player, have more questions, want to learn, or if you're a veteran player and you just want to come hang out, get to know more people in the community, it doesn't matter. Absolutely everybody is welcome. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch the video today, and we'll see you on the next one.